So today we are going to talk about so many things that are going to get people's feathers ruffled.
There's going to be ruffled feathers.
We're going to ruffle some feathers. Yeah, we are in the industry, if you will, because we're going to say some things. We're going to say the things. But before we do, I don't know if people realize how important a good night's sleep is. I mean, I'm menopausal, and so I know how important a good night's sleep is. I don't get a good night's sleep very often, but when I do, it's on my MyPillow pillows. Boom.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And MyPillow has fantastic down comforters. MyPillow has fantastic blankets. And if you are a person who has not yet experienced drying off after a shower with the thirstiest, best towels in the world,
the best.
I don't even know. Like, MyPillow towels are like no other towel. They're better than any fancy hotel towel ever.
They're thirsty. That's the only way to describe them, is thirsty. It's like they're not slimy. They're thirsty and awesome and perfect. You have got to try these towels. They're so great.
They really are fabulous. And they are on mega sale. They're having a huge blowout sale at mypillow.com/chicks right now. Please check it out, mypillow.com/chicks, and then use code chicks. Don't forget to use code chicks so you get the deepest discounts on all of their amazing products. We are about to ruffle the feathers, as you said.
We're going to do all the ruffling. We're ruffling so many things. Because I think our perspective is probably a little different than what people are hearing out there, because we're old. And in fact, I think a really great way to kick off this conversation would be to play this video that producer Valen sent us yesterday of a Gen Xer who it was like she was staring into my soul. And so perhaps I'm revealing too much about my past, and this is inappropriate, but she caught me. Here's a lady. Here's a lady saying what's what.
This is an extremely niche post, but if you're a Gen X female and you were in your teens or early 20s in the 1980s, tell me you didn't go to Planned Parenthood and get orthotricycline. You can't tell me different. We're all the same, living the same experience.
Okay, so I didn't go to Planned Parenthood. I didn't do that, but I did go to an OBGYN. I was on orthotricycline, and then I was on Yasmin, which was bomb. I loved Yasmin because, listen, it took a couple tweakings to get me to the right birth control for me. And I loved Yasmin. I stayed on that for years, and it was great. And so I had a good experience with birth control. I know nowadays the messaging now is birth control bad, birth control bad, birth control evil, birth control bad.
It's weird,
right? It has side effects for some people. Some people don't have a good experience with it, which is understandable. I have chronic migraine. And so since I've had chronic migraine since I was 13 years old, before I even started my period. Because I started my period late. I mean, this is way too much. This is TMI, you guys. But I didn't start my period till I was 15. Because I was an athlete, had really low body fat. But anyways, I was one of those people who I just had I've had migraine since I was really, really young. And so finding like the right preventatives is one of those things that you have to tweak. I have tried every preventative known to man. And now I have like what I think is probably a good cocktail of preventatives to help me from like throwing up, and dying like every single month from chronic migraine. And I even went off the pill and that didn't help me. But I will say that the whole reason I'm saying this is because you have to kind of find the right treatment for you. And I think that applies to birth control as well. I think sometimes if you want to take a birth control pill, you have to find like the right one for you. And sometimes women will get on one and then it won't work for them. They're like, birth control is like the worst thing ever. I had a horrible experience. Okay, well, maybe you're just on the wrong one. That could, for some people, they could just be on the wrong one, or it could just be horrible for that individual person. But some of us did okay on it.
Yeah. So here's the deal is that there's all kinds of young conservative influencers out there right now who this has become a huge topic for.
Totally.
Because there's been a number of studies that they have latched onto that show that and they're not necessarily new studies, although some of them are, but that show that some birth control, oral contraceptives cause all these problems, have all these risks, and they were never told about them. And doctors just hand them out like candy, which is actually true.
Right.
And especially if you go to Planned Parenthood, they do not give a shit about educating you.
No.
They just want your business. They just want to give you all the pills and go. And they don't talk to you about risks.
No,
they don't even tell you necessarily that there's a lot of different options of different oral contraceptives.
No. Planned Parenthood they're telling people that virgins aren't virgins anymore. I mean, Planned Parenthood is the worst. Yeah, they're the absolute worst. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's odd to see. It's odd to see this sort of rise in the number of conservative influencer girls and women who are
young women
who are really talking down about birth control, oral contraceptives, which have been studied for years. And it is true that doctors aren't particularly good at sharing the information, but that's not to say the information hasn't been out there. And so now that they're all like, oh my God, it causes strokes and cancers and heart disease and all of these things that it causes. Mm-hmm. This is the things that they also prevent are positive.
Right.
And these are decisions that have to be weighed by every single individual. So it's a weird attack on oral contraception that's kind of seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's like spreading like a kudzu in conservative circles. It's a little bit it's a little concerning because, again, I think it's an individual decision and there are some benefits to it. I mean, because, some people will say, okay, it can cause cancer, but it also can prevent some cancers. So you have to sort of weigh, like there's the whole, it can cause breast cancer thing. Okay, but it could also keep you from getting ovarian and endometrial cancer. So these are the things that doctors need to be teaching young women. And then you have to weigh, what works for you. Like for me, I loved being on the pill when I was on. I loved it because it made my periods a little bit more manageable and tolerable. It wasn't like so painful. And then on top of that, I was able to schedule things around it.
Yeah, they're predictable.
I loved it. They were predictable. Right. I mean, I planned my wedding around my period and my honey. I mean, things like that. I love that. And I am a very planny kind of person. And so I loved being able to do that on the pill. And then also, for me, like just hormones in general are a big point of contention, like for my body, and now I have severe, osteoporosis, osteopenia. And so like, if you don't have estrogen in check, that is a huge concern. And, as we can get to this in a second, but when we get to the point where, we're older women, we can talk about HRT, which is something that we probably need to discuss. But I look at some of these young girls, and I'm like, okay, I don't understand the whole, I don't want to take this birth control because it's toxic or it's, it's unnatural. It causes all these issues. But then, on their TikTok feed or their Instagram feeds, like in the same breath, they'll do a post on how they're shoving botulism in their faces, I know it's like,
or they're popping all the antidepressants.
Right. And that's considered self-care to them.
Yeah.
But yet they'll be out there preaching about, how horrible birth control is. And I'm like, wait, what's the disconnect here? I don't understand. Because I feel like, a lot of these things, we don't know the ramifications. Do you know the ramifications of shoving, a toxin in your head? Do you? And preaching that is somehow self-care? Because there's a little bit of hypocrisy there.
Oh, there's a lot of hypocrisy.
Right.
And it just seems like such an out of the blue attack by conservative influencers out there who are discouraging other young women from choosing oral contraceptives, even though they may be the right choice for many, many women.
Right.
They were the right choice for me. They were the right choice for you. And they were not something that caused us any long-term harm.
Right.
And perhaps that's not always true. I mean, I'm sure there are people who suffer the side effects that are listed in the giant insert that comes in with every pill pack. And that's unfortunate, but that is true of freaking Tylenol.
Absolutely.
That's true of every single drug. And so it just seems like almost like an unfair attack on
Right.
oral contraceptions, which have prevented lots and lots and lots of unwanted pregnancies and possibly cancers in many, many women. So
Right.
it's odd to me, especially because now we're hearing about some really far out there studies. Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter, who has a podcast, she was talking to a doctor about, I guess, a fairly recent study about how your attraction to the opposite sex changes depending on whether or not you're on oral contraception. This is bizarre. Check this out.
Is it true that the birth control pill can change your perception of who you're attracted to for a woman?
Yeah, that is a possibility. Researchers have been finding that the men who were chosen by women as partners that were on hormonal birth control, they had less masculine faces relative to the men who were chosen by naturally cycling women, which is really mind-blowing when you think about it.
There are other factors at play here.
I think it's very possible, because there have also been studies that men's testosterone is dropping in the world. And that, I feel like there's got to be some sort of we got to talk about that too, right? When you're talking in relation to this one study that they did. Plus, don't you think that just men overall are in the world are becoming less masculine? I mean,
and that's a whole other problem
Right.
caused by the emasculation of
Right.
men.
I mean, there's
by
just
so
less,
many lefty feminist weirdos.
right. There's just less Chris Hemsworths in the world,
And we need more of those.
We need way more of those.
A lot more of those.
Yeah, more Jason Momoas out there. This is the thing. I feel like there's just less and less of those, and I think that's like a whole other, that's just a whole other discussion that has nothing to do with the way that we even perceive them or look at them. It's them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not even a
Well,
perception thing. It's a them thing.
There was a guy, I was telling you about this guy, this messaging is getting widespread. So there was a guy whose TikTok I saw who was so freaked out by that particular study that he was like extrapolating out to possibilities in the future, where he was saying, well, that's horrible, because what if I, fall in love and get married to a woman who's on birth control and she loves me and she's super into me, and then we decide to have a family and she gets off birth control and somehow she's all of a sudden no longer attracted to me.
Oh my God.
Because her birth control was effing with her mind. And I'm like, this is a new fear unlocked that needs to be locked back up in the box. This is crazy.
It does need to be locked back up in a box, because people change in marriage. People change. I mean, I don't look like I did when I married my husband, 16 years ago. I'm not the same person visually. I'm older now. He's older. He's bald. He wasn't bald when I married him. It's like people age, and that's okay. I hope to God that you don't marry the person that you marry just because of the way that they look, but for all sorts of reasons and because of a holistic view of that person. So that's a whole other conversation too. Like, what are we doing? That's weird. I love my husband for all sorts of reasons. I am physically attracted to him, but that's not the only reason that I married him is because of, and when I look at him now, I see the person that I married. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that argument doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand that.
Well, and hormones are a crazy thing. And so, granted, when you go on the pill, you are introducing hormones into your body that are not necessarily your body's making them on their own. With some women, these birth control pills can absolutely solve all kinds of issues. Like they did. My sister was also took Jasmine forever. It still takes it.
Yasmin.
And she continues to take it even, she's on the way to her 50s, because without it, she feels insane and she has terrible skin and like she goes through all these issues when she's not on it. So for every person who has problems with it, there's another person who experiences extraordinary benefits from it, which is why I thought it was so good. There was a doctor too that producer Valen had found this doctor that apparently she's also seen all of these videos of everybody freaking out about oral contraception. And she put out a video to tell people, here's definitively what the wrong birth control for you is. And I thought this was absolutely perfect.
I'm an OBGYN and I'm going to tell you the worst form of birth control. Get ready to take notes because you can't miss this. The number one worst form of birth control is the one that doesn't work for you. So while an IUD may be highly effective, you don't want it or you don't like it, that's not good for you. Birth control pills work really well if you take them perfectly, but if you can't remember how to take a pill every day, that's not going to work for you. The best form of birth control is the one that you want, that works for your lifestyle and that you can access. If you have questions about different kinds of birth control, head to bedsider.org for more.
Wait, so women can actually figure out what works best for them?
Individually?
Oh my God.
What a concept.
What a concept. I know, that's crazy. Like our oldest daughter, she can't take birth control because she has blood clotting issues. And so it doesn't work for her. Now, my 14-year-old, at some point in her life, she may decide that she wants to take birth control, and she may or may not love it. And that is her decision to make. You know, I feel like that this is the thing. It's an individual thing. But to have people telling you, oh my God, it's evil, you shouldn't take it. It's kind of like what I said with the migraine preventatives. It is an individual thing where you have to figure out. I think a lot of this, maybe not a lot, but some of it may stem from the fact that we went through the whole COVID thing. And maybe some people in this generation are so freaked out by pharma right now. Which is totally understandable, right? But, you know, I worked in pharma for like 20 years and I get it, you know, because I didn't take the vaccine. I didn't want to. And I totally understand that people have trepidation with pharma as a whole. But you also have to think critically here, you know, because pharma is not, I understand that people are like, they're evil, they're awful, they're terrible, but then they've also done some really good things. Like I'm sure these same people, these same women who would be like, oh my God, birth control is terrible, will take an antibiotic when they have, you know, an infection. And there are certain, and I take migraine preventative, which is literally saved. I would not be doing this podcast if I wasn't on migraine preventatives. You know, I would be debilitated.
Right.
So, I mean, there are certain things where there are certain drugs that have been amazing. I mean, the pharma industry needs to be applauded for some of the things that they have done. They can't be completely and totally demonized for everything. And so I get a little bit squirrely when people are like, they're just evil, they're totally evil. It's like, okay, well, have you ever taken a Tylenol? Because the pharma industry gave you that Tylenol. Has your kid ever had an infection where they need an antibiotic? Well, the pharma industry did that. And it was because of years of R&D. And years of R&D went into making the birth control pill too.
Yeah.
And it came out in 1960. And there's been studies and improvements to the pill since then. And so
there's pills now. I don't even know some of the birth control that's available now.
Right.
Obviously, I do not need that.
Right. I don't either, which we probably should talk about next. And before we do that, we probably need to talk about Genucel and how awesome people, like when we talk about Botox, you don't need Botox, you guys. You can just use Genucel. You can totally use Genucel because it's awesome. In fact, I have some right here. Do
you have the Gen 90?
I have the Gen 90
right here.
That's
the stuff right there, you guys. It's
amazing.
This is the reason that Genucel has such huge customer loyalty. Like it's 400% better or something than other skincare products out there. Because when you try any of the products in the line of Genucel skincare, it hits different, as the kids say today. And you can just tell all of the products that they make are such this amazing quality. And in particular, Gen 90, which is like eons ahead of other skin care line technologies. This is for the anti-wrinkles. So you put it anywhere, like if it's around your eyes or your forehead or wherever.
Right.
Yeah. And it makes the sound, like we always describe it as going...
So what you're saying is it's giving Botox, but it's not actually Botox, is what the kids.
Right. It's just giving Botox.
Right. Exactly.
That's right. And it's absolutely amazing. It's part of the most popular package right now at genucel.com/chicks. And so too is the Genucel XV moisturizer, which is the bomb.
It's so awesome.
And if you order now, you can also, they're going to throw in a free beauty box and a deep firming serum. This is just while supplies last. So if you haven't tried it now's a great time because they're throwing in all the free stuff plus free shipping. So visit genucel.com/chicks. It's GENUCEL.com/chicks.
So, speaking of like wrinkle cream and getting older, I want to look back in about 20 years and see what these same girls, these young women have to say about HRT, hormone replacement therapy, because they can't take HRT if they're saying that they don't believe in birth control and they'll be hypocrites. You see what I'm saying? And it's a lot of these, 20s, 30s, and 40s were a piece of cake compared to menopause. Piece of cake. Menopause is a bitch. It's a bitch, ladies. And seriously, like I want to see how they handle it. And
we're going to be dead by then. So
right, we'll probably be dead by the time that they all. It's so true. And weirdly enough, I liked birth control when I was younger, but I've tried 2 different kinds of HRT because menopause symptoms are nothing like you've ever experienced before as a woman. And so buckle up, young ladies, if you're buckle up. And so I've tried 2 different kinds, and I'm not a fan. I don't like HRT. I've tried the pellets. I don't like them. And in fact, it did some things to my body that I didn't like. And then it
did dangerous things to your body.
It did dangerous things to my body.
That whole industry is so oddly not regulated.
A little weirdly whack. Right. Exactly. And I don't think that there's not enough regulation there. And then now I'm doing like a little patch, like a little how do you pronounce it? Estradiol patch, and a little bit of progesterone just to kind of, because, and a lot of it has to do, for me, it's about my bones, keeping my bones healthy. And that helps a little if I have a little boost, because I had 0 estrogen in my body. I just wanted a little bit of a boost. And so I thought, okay, well, this will help. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. So I probably will just end up doing nothing. Which is what the younger girls are saying you should totally do. But I would never say to somebody my age, don't do HRT, because it really helps women our age. Some women love the pellets. Some women love HRT. Some women, I mean, they swear by it. They just feel like an old lady, and they feel old before their time, and that everything like starts melting. You know what I mean?
And like then you get the hot flashes on top of it.
Oh my God. You feel like you can't sleep. You are literally sweating your ass off like 4 times a night. It's 10 years of it, you guys. It's like, so I want to see how these young girls feel when they're older and they're faced with the decision of having to do or not having to do HRT, because it is literally the same thing as birth control. It's putting,
and it also went through a big scare. Right. There was like this whole study that was done, and then it's been picked apart since then. But it absolutely, and my mom was part of this group. So when my mom was going through menopause, it was immediate. Like doctors didn't even think twice. They were just like, here you go. You're on estrogen now. Your hot flashes are going to go away. And she was like, this is a miracle. She felt amazing. She was on it for years. And then all of a sudden the study came out and scared everybody to death and said, oh my God, you're going to get all the cancers. Everything's horrible. Get off of it immediately. She got off it. She felt awful. And then it's now it's shown that study had all kinds of flaws in it. Right. That for most women, it's completely safe to be on HRT. Now, for me, I loved being on it too, but I can't be because I'm in a risk group that it makes it not make sense, because I had a stroke. And so mine was caused by a hole in my heart. But if I'm susceptible to clotting already, it's not for me and I can't take it. And that's fine. So but that goes back to our original point, which is you have to make an individual decision and weigh the risks and benefits for your own body. And so all of these scary, oh my God, the world is ending about birth control, all of these conservative influencers who are doing that to women right now are doing them a huge disservice, because it's scaring women and thinking, well, this person I trust online says this, so now I'm not going to make that personal decision. Right. And that's the problem, is that they're influential, and that's there's a responsibility there.
Right. Now, your mother was a scientist. My mom was not a scientist. She was my mom, but and she was in education. And she actually ended up, she said, I don't want to take anything when I go into menopause. She did nothing. She did exactly like what some of these younger girls are doing. She's like, I don't want anything synthetic in my body. She's one of those. I mean, she, Mom, if you're listening, she should have just been a hippie, you know? She's one of those. And so she's like, I want nothing. And she was fine. Right. But it's one of those things. So it's like and the reason I say that is because, again, it's an individual choice thing. So your mom loved it. My mom was fine without things. And then for me, I'm like, I kind of want to try it just to see. And I'm probably going to do nothing. You know, I'm probably going to end up, because I've tried a couple things and I don't like it. Because again, it is not a one size fits all thing. Hormones and hormone replacement therapy and birth control and all the things that we're talking about is not a one size fits all. And I think a lot of these influencers are trying to make it a one size fits all. And that is our point, is that it's not. It is very, very individual and specific to your body and your body chemistry and how you metabolize things and the pharmacokinetics of a drug and how your body metabolizes everything. There's so much that goes into just pharmaceuticals in general. And I think people are simplifying this in a way that it doesn't need to be, and that it shouldn't be simplified.
Yeah.
And
they're talking about risks being, you have this increased risk of this and that and this and that. But then when you actually look at the numbers, the risk is so minuscule, depending. Like you might be a woman who's suffering a certain symptom that the pill can actually help a lot. And so the risk is worth it, right? Because the symptom that you're facing is so awful that you would rather face a tiny risk of maybe getting, you know, a higher chance of having some sort of illness. But again, it's so individual. And that's why it is concerning to see so many people jumping on this bandwagon and demonizing birth control or oral contraception when that has been around for a really long time and has worked really, really well without negative consequences for a ton of women. Can we just do what's best for each person?
And real quick, because I know we're wrapping up, but real quick, something that we haven't touched on, which I'm just going to say it out loud. I would much rather a woman be on birth control if she can tolerate it and she's okay with it and she likes it than to have an abortion. As a pro-life person, I would much rather see a woman be on synthetic birth control than to down the road, like take a life. You know what I mean? I don't and that happens. We see it happen. You know, where if a girl is afraid or whatever, or they're not educated, or they feel like they can't take, and then down the road they have why would you want that? Why would you ever, as a pro-life person, why would you want that? I don't understand that line of thinking.
I know.
So yeah,
and anyway. I also don't understand people that haven't tried Omaha Steaks yet.
I don't either.
I don't get it.
I subscribe,
get it,
and get all the good things.
Right? They have subscriptions now.
What
oh my God,
is even happening?
I'm so stoked about the subscription service. So this is like, at least it's now being promoted. I don't know if they've always had it and they've kept it kind of secret, or if they're just now starting the service. But regardless, they have a subscription service. And if you are a person who loves steak, and I know you do. It's like your
oh my
daily
God,
lunch.
I eat steak like so many times a week. I eat steak.
But they're not even just about steaks, although their steaks are, of course, amazing. But I've fallen in love with their seafood selections and their skillet meals, right? So they've got a whole bunch of different kinds of skillet meals that are super easy to prepare. Throw things in a pan, heat it up, and you're done. That's my favorite kind of cooking. They have sides, they have desserts. And the best part of the subscriptions is you create whatever you want every time. Like you can change it up whenever you want. You can change the frequency whenever you want. You can change how much you're getting whenever you want. You choose the foods, change selections. You can cancel anytime you want. It is so flexible. That's the best part about their subscription service. Not to mention the fact that when you order, you know you're getting delicious food every single time.
It's so good.
The best part too of the subscription is that with every order for life, you're going to get 4 free burgers.
Oh my
for
God.
life.
And they're not regular burgers. These are like Mac Daddy, just jumbo burgers. They're so good, you guys. Oh my God, my mouth is watering. I have to go eat after this.
The other cool thing is that with every third box or every third shipment, they send you a free gift too, like a super secret thank you for having
and it's a delicious gift.
So check them out, omahasteaks.com/chicks, omahasteaks.com/chicks. And don't forget, they also have an unconditional money back guarantee, which makes this a no risk proposition. omahasteaks.com/chicks.
So we probably pissed a lot of people off. And
probably so.
That's what we do. That's what we do best, right? But again,
it had to be said. Things had to be said.
I still want to check back in 20 years. I'm going to try to stay alive just so I can check back in 20, 25 years, 30 years, and just see what these chicks are doing when they're staring down the menopause barrel.
Didn't you say that one of them too is a famous Botox and like, what's all the other stuff? The
I don't
filler,
all the fillers and all the crap she puts in her face. Yeah.
And it used to be that she would promote it and be like, here's who I saw and here's where I went.
Here's what I did.
Now
and it's all gone.
Now that she's talking about how mean and horrible birth control is, she's scrubbed her feet of all of that.
And all the stuff in the food, like all the stuff in our food is toxic. All the stuff, all this is toxic. That's toxic. This is unnatural. I'm like, and that is literally like all she talks about. And it's like, but you put so much shit in your face. Like, what is this? And then we'll see how that turns out for these chicks when they're 50. Because it's not, you're going to look like a cat. You're going to, You're going to look like a Kardashian cat is what you're going to look like.
Exactly.
Just saying. Anyway, you guys,
All right.
birth control. It's
Stay tuned
to each their own. Stay tuned. Yeah.
Stay tuned for the hate mail.
Yeah. We'll probably have to do a follow-up on that. Bye, everybody. Bye.